नमस्कार. तर आज काय बोलताय आलेलं आहे RK लक्ष्मण म्युझियम बाणेर पुणे इथे. हे खूप अमेझिंग म्युझियम आहे. जर तुम्ही बघतायत ते RK लक्ष्मण सरांच्या सगळ्या क्रिएटिव्ह, सगळ्या त्यांच्या डूडल्स, सगळ्या त्यांच्या कार्टून्सचं आपण इथे बघू शकतो. एक लाईट अँड साऊंड म्युझियम केलेलं आहे. हे सगळं आपलं आज आपली शूट होणार आहेत रोहन आणि उषा मॅडम यांच्याबरोबर. तर आज मजा येणार. पहिलं वंदन करू आपण गणपती बाप्पाला. आमचा पॉडकास्ट छान जाऊ दे, सगळे आम्हाला सबस्क्रायबर्स वाढू दे, व्ह्युअर्स वाढू दे. नाही वाढलं तरी हरकत नाही, कंटेंट स्ट्रॉंग आहे आपलं. How did Common Man come into existence?
Something that is so close to your heart and something that comes out so dynamic, it has to be something completely part of you. So, and then it finally surfaces right in front of you. So he was just looking for him, and finally he said he found me. I didn't find him.
We have Rohan Kulkarni and Usha Laxman ji on Kaay Boltay. This is our special podcast at the RK Laxman Museum here in Pune, Baner, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you all on Kaay Boltay. So firstly, welcome on Kaay Boltay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And how are you feeling? Have you all done a podcast here ever before, or how?
It's the first time.
This is the first time?
And it's really a good feeling. And I would like to start on a very auspicious note.
Yes.
Today happens to be the 65th wedding anniversary of Mom and Dad.
Wow.
So I think it's a good way to
Amazing.
have this happening today, and I guess it just happened. So, and I've been remembering Mom and Dad majorly today, and then it's so nice to share
Amazing.
a lot of.
That's really heart touching. Why? Because we are here today, and so that brings me to my first question. How was he as a father? How has your journey been with him? Because we all know through him, through his cartoons and everything, all his works that he's done in life. But being a personal connect, how was it with him?
I think every time I start talking about him, I'm in tears. So in short, that's what I'd like to say about him. A very emotional person, very caring. And as you know, I'm actually his daughter-in-law, but there's not been a single day where he has introduced me to the entire world as meet my daughter who has happened to have married my son. So that itself says it all, because that's the kind of person he was. Right from, whatever came, it came from his heart. Very concerned, very emotional, very caring, always there for the family. The busiest person he was, as far as his career was concerned. And he spent all his time between his career and travel and networking with people and all of that. Never gave up his family. Not
Amazing.
a single day.
Amazing.
So in short, that's what I'd like to say about it.
Wow, because that is very rare. When we start working, you get to be indulged so much into work, and people nowadays don't give time to the family. But with this kind of a hectic schedule, with this kind of a personality that he had become, world famous person, he has met almost all the famous celebrities had come and met him. He has done their caricatures, their cartoons, and everything. So, how did that journey start? Like how was his journey? So, for our audience,
His journey, if you go back to his childhood days, right from the day he was born, youngest son of family of 8 siblings, 6 brothers and 2 sisters, and he being the youngest, he was just left to himself. And there came to a point where it was his uncle who, he realized that he's not going to school while all the other brothers and sisters are already there. And that's the kind of casual living he had. And by then, I think he was 3 or 4 years old. His uncle used to literally pick him up and take him to the school and say, look, you need to go to school like your brothers. Never liked going to school. By the time the uncle came back home, he was already there. After 3 attempts, that's again a very natural phenomenon about dad. After 3 attempts, he realized school is not a bad place. and asked me why.
Why?
Because that's a place where he got to sketch people, got to sketch his peer group, got to sketch his teachers. So he found his learnings, in school and wherever through his art. So he enjoyed his entire journey of growing up through his art, and it started from the age of 3.
Wow. But see, that is the time when, the children sketch on the wall. Formative years when they are sketching on the wall, sketching here and there. In the recent times, if a kid would have done that, people would have, like, given him a whacking. But that is something that the parents would have really seen something. And because that was not an era where, sketching or getting into drawing or art was that much appreciated.
Yeah, it was never formalized. It was a very informal thing. He literally used to take charcoal and chalks and scribble all over the walls and floors. And his mother was his father was, highly learned person, voracious reader, and he was the headmaster of the Mysore Corporation School.
Okay.
Very strict, things like that. Mother was just the opposite. You can call her like a tomboy. She was there, excellent cook, very artistic, very talented. In fact, the Maharani of Mysore used to call her to play tennis and badminton with her. And almost every single day she used to go. And that's the kind of person, and gave all the freedom to all her children. And in fact, the first caricature that he made was of his father. One morning, his father used to sit with a newspaper, and there he sat on the floor and sketched him.
Wow.
And when the father saw it, he didn't like it. He said, "What is this? How can you do this to me like this?" The mother said, "Nothing doing. It remains where it is till the rest of the family comes and sees. And even after that, we are not going to erase it. Let it fade out on its own."
Amazing.
So, I mean, it says it all, the freedom that he got.
Amazing. So, coming to the work of RK Laxman sir, so when we see that, you see a sign of sarcasm, you see there's a message, you see a common man that is portraying, and people can resonate to that character from whichever background you are. And that was the only space in the newspaper or any print form. What I think, for me, to at least, I used to buy the newspaper to only for reading that. So that was so much triggering. So how was that thinking process? You must have had a talk with him. So
He used to read 32 newspapers every single day, national and international. So he was the first man to reach Times of India around 8:30, 9. By 9 he was there. And in the mornings, when he would wake up and get ready and leave, we did not have the courage to even talk to him. He was used to be very preoccupied, or the creative mind thinking. Until and unless he opened up and spoke to us, that space was given to him. And even the reason why he went early is because he didn't want to see people in the office distracting his thought process. So he would not even take the elevator. He would walk up the 3 flight of stairs and then get into his room. He had a soundproof room. And the first thing he would do is read 32 newspapers, which was all stacked up and kept for him. Idea after that just came like that. In 15 minutes, his cartoon and caption used to be ready.
Okay.
So that's the discipline he followed every single day till he had a deadline of it going to the for print at around 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Right.
After that, he was a totally different person, very relaxed, and lots of people all wanted to meet him. So he used to give them time from 3 to 5.
Okay.
5 o'clock sharp, he would leave for home and come home and spend time with the family and do a lot of freelance work. A man of perfect time management, disciplined, and he never gave that up even after he got a stroke. Wow. He was so disciplined till the last day, I would say. Very disciplined and time management. And the volume of work that he has done, I don't know how he did it. I mean, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
And then he had like his views on all the things that were happening in the country. Because India had gone from independence to post-independence to political to a lot of things were, a lot of social, a lot of things were changing.
The sketches that you see here are different subjects.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so to have an eye on that, but you have to make it in a way that it is always,
it has to be realistic.
You have to be realistic.
Some of the sketches, if you see, it's about government offices, schools,
Yes.
corporate offices, which he has not even visited.
Exactly.
And in those days, there was no Google or things where you could visualize things through that visual effect. Nothing of it. But I think through reading and understanding, he was able to visualize all of that.
Amazing.
And really bring it to life.
Yeah.
And he always used to say, cartoons is not about laughter. It is all about satire.
Satire.
Like while you think,
Correct.
you smile, you give it a smile. So it's not like ridiculing anyone.
Correct.
It's not like making a mimicry out of someone or laughing at somebody.
Yes.
Even if they are political figures.
Correct.
It's a satire which makes you think, and then you just give a smile. So all his cartoons, if you say, that's the way it is.
Wow.
And of course, the common man was his
common man.
alter ego.
Yes, exactly. So coming to the common man. So how did common man come into existence? Because a lot of people, a lot of us viewers, they're watching this, they have seen common man, but they are not aware of how common man came into existence.
So when I saw all his works, the earlier works, is when I realized that, and knowing him also personally, is when I realized he was a people's person. He was a very concerned person of people on the streets, people everywhere. And I saw a lot of it even in his sketches much earlier, where he had that thought and the feeling for a common man. And I'm sure it must have been with him right from school days and college days, when he started sketching people and when he started moving around with people. And these things, something that is so close to your heart and something that comes out so dynamic, it has to be something completely part of you. So, and then it finally surfaces right in front of you. So it's always, according to me, it's always been there with him, and it just came up.
Amazing. So your experience with the common man, since you've been following, you've been growing up with it. So what was your take? What is your take on the common man? How do you associate with it?
We've done a holo box in the basement, which has an animation film, post which he speaks about it. I think it is definitely, I think the common man was born out of compulsion, in a way, not out of choice.
Okay.
Because he had that 4x4 inch, and as he said that the India is so diverse. Had he been in some other country, probably in Europe, the common man would probably, I mean, there was no need to call him a common man also.
Yeah.
And probably, even if he existed there, it would have been easy. Here, it was, he didn't have a choice, because if you, as he says, if you leave one, the other is going to complain.
Correct.
And if you leave the second two people, the others are going to come, because 10 to 12 varied varieties and designs of people exist in India.
Correct.
So according to me, my take is the common man was born out of compulsion.
Right.
And if you see the design, the design of the common man has evolved. In one of the few walls, which we call it the precursor wall, there's the sketches of common man without a check shirt, with a black cap, and then the cap went and the bald head came, and then the check shirt came and the dhoti came. So he has evolved.
Exactly.
So probably, I am just thinking it loud. The 50s and the 60s, when a lot of industrial revolution was happening, there must have been migration.
Correct.
And he must have seen a certain kind of people commonly.
Right.
Maybe because of that, he must have evolved. Because 50s and 60s, 70s was major industrial revolution that happened, and he spent a lot of time in the city of Bombay.
Correct.
Where गिरणी कामगार वगैरे तिकडे त्या टाइमला खूपच prominent होते.
बरोबर.
And तिकडे जुने आपण गिरणी कामगारांचे वगैरे फोटो बघितले, they used to wear dhoti.
Oh.
So maybe the common man wearing the dhoti must have come there. Because the mill workers used to be the working class.
Correct.
And then that's the reason that character kept evolving. This is what my take on it.
Absolutely.
But he has always said, I never found him, he found me. So it was like he was looking for something, because it became increasingly impossible for him to bring in all the states, costume to him together. So he was just looking for him, and finally he said he found me, I didn't find him.
Wow. Because I think at that time, when cartoonists and cartoons were not that accepted by in the country like India, because maybe people were less sensitive at that time than the way they are today. So maybe that was someone who people could think, Arey, he is not talking about us, but he's talking about some common man. So maybe that was something that he had picked up. Sir had picked up and Sir had like, okay, chal, let's do this. It was not even offending people, but they were getting that message. So something of this kind must have definitely evolved during those times. So coming to Malgudi Days. So what was your experience when Malgudi Days happened?
Tell about Malgudi Days, how he transformed the whole thing in a beautiful
Absolutely.
miniature.
Yes.
As you know, this is the one and only Malgudi exhibit that exists in India.
Wow.
And
The
to have
miniature
a
that has been created,
yeah,
yes.
miniature.
Ah.
There's only miniature. There's nothing
There's
else.
nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the only thing. And so I think you read all those books, right?
I read the books.
Yeah, he read the.
I picked up the best.
So let's start with how Malgudi Days happened. The original one.
Okay, how
with,
it happened.
With how Laxman sir, penned it
So,
down.
So this was a tribute for the two brothers that complemented each other, one as an artist and the other as a writer. So, in fact, the age difference between the two is 15 years.
Okay.
And when RK Narayan started writing, even the small, articles that he used to write, by then he realized his younger brother is an artist. So he started telling him that whatever I write, you have to sketch.
Okay.
So they used to take a walk together, and then Narayan would say, today my article is going to be on this story. He would narrate, and then once it is written, by then Dad has already visualized what the sketches that have to come. And then he would, this is how it started with both of them. And the first book that got published of RK Narayan, Swami and Friends, that got world recognition. And so till the last article of RK Narayan, it was only Laxman who has sketched all his works.
Wow.
And then when the producer, I don't know who was the producer for Malgudi Days, when he approached,
Shankar was the...
Yeah, and there was a lot of interaction he had with Dad more than Narayan, because Narayan's story was already written.
Correct.
But to bring it, in the visually, he used to come home very often and discuss it, and Dad used to also tell him, this is the way it was written, this is the way I have sketched, this is what the story is all about. That is why I think today, if you watch, Malgudi Days, it is so realistic. Absolutely. And it is taken very well from the book. So I think you can still look at it as an epic. Even now, people love watching it.
A slightly technical thing I would like to say.
Please, yeah.
Malgudi Days, although it was for television, it was shot on film camera.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They shot it on film.
Oh.
So if you see, because the look. So there are 2 seasons. I don't know if it's a season who did that. I think the second one is shot on VHS. And the first original one is shot on film.
Okay.
You see the difference.
Okay.
You'll understand the difference. That's the reason they've shot it on film. And the production design and the entire thing was so rich. Absolutely. You know what was the beauty? I think I watched, when I was doing this, after reading the book, I watched episodes. The first time I watched Malgudi Days.
Yeah. I think it's on Amazon now.
Yeah, it's on
Amazon and it's on YouTube also.
Yeah.
Some 22 minutes per episode. 2-3 minutes later, you are just pulled in.
Yeah.
Not just the story, but the making part also.
Characters,
making part also. The whole world is so beautiful. So that's what so people have seen it on TV. So that's the reason we decided to make Malgudi here, because let them watch something tangible.
Correct. And the storytelling that goes on with it. Even though there are no characters, like there are miniatures, but you actually start visualizing that happening. I mean, that is the magic of what you have created over here.
Correct.
And you spoke about the challenge. One big challenge was, we have, when these 2 light and sound shows, these are automated. So when you are programming it, you have to sync it with the light and the audio track.
Correct.
So I kept the audio track as the reference, and the light design and all happened later. For me to get the 2 languages of 2 audio tracks at the same timeline, that was a big challenge, because you can't have 2 sets of light design for 2 different languages.
Correct.
Program doesn't allow that.
Correct.
So that was a big challenge, because when we tell the story of there's a location shift.
Correct.
In Malgudi.
Yeah.
So that the content wise it has to match because the light design is set.
Correct.
So that was a big challenge, and I was recording with Bamani Rani and Dilip Prabhakar.
Yeah.
For these two stalwarts, to ask them to come and maintain the same time codes and all, it was very difficult. Beyond the point, I couldn't. So that's the reason I had to like really sit and edit it really finely.
Amazing.
Oh, he has worked very hard,
He's
day
worked
and
very
night.
hard.
Literally, he sat through the night to do it,
You
the
still
days
know
on
that
end.
the railway engine.
Yeah.
He went to Germany to all the way to Germany. Right?
No.
No.
I got it from here.
That was the idea.
I got it from
You
here.
got it from here, but you had gone to see that.
Yeah. Since I was there, I scouted for it,
Right.
but I couldn't find it. Good that he bought it here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Because it's out there, I
that
thought.
is the detailing. No, that what
Correct.
matters.
Yes, that's what
Right?
matters.
See, it's a static miniature.
Correct.
The reason I was very keen on an engine is one moving
Correct.
image, like some moving object, and then that's the reason we made a fountain also. The earthquake scene,
Yeah.
I had something in mind, but that would have become a huge hassle.
Right.
So I thought one small plate we'll make and we'll move it a little left, right, something like that we'll do. But it was so like it was quite a big area. This is not possible. So we gave it up.
Amazing. So coming to Malgudi Days, when we see each of the character that has been made, the story that revolves around it, and the setting of the village. That since we all know that there's no village as Malgudi, but now there is. There is a station in Karnataka, I guess. So
It's still commissioning at the commissioning stage, I think.
but making all that and bringing that to life, what was that process like, if I may ask? Because that has been something which is completely fictional, but yet so relative. It's so relative. Like even like you said, when you watch at least one episode of that, you like think the next day also, yeah, why did that happen? Or what was that character going through when that happened? So that was so relative. So what was that? What was how did that all?
See, if there's a pattern in his writing style, is what I understood.
Correct.
He has a tendency of leaving things open-ended, not having a specific. That's a style of writing. There's a style of narrative that you leave it to the audience. And many times, you feel that there's going to be a next episode. He leaves it on a cliffhanger ending.
You decide the ending.
Yeah. So if you see 2-3 things while writing it, I deliberately did that. So, and also when the first show ends, the common man says that I'm going to take you into a world which you have never seen before. Probably people forget that.
Correct.
So when there's like a two connecting points that I've deliberately placed. When you come here, then probably, then you feel, okay, this is not a place which we've never seen.
Correct.
So these things, like little bit here and there, is the best you can do when a space is clearly set.
Correct.
I would have done some other things probably had we been involved in the designing of the space, architectural point of view.
Absolutely. No, I think we, the audience, also can expect something coming out from Malgudi Days, because Rohan is already in the line of films. Rohan, at this stage or this era, if Malgudi Days would have to be remade, would you really make it? And who would you cast? Or any plans for that? Something
Who would you cast? But see, it's basically ensemble cast.
Absolutely.
So there's no settled character. But if I think probably we need to make something like Malgudi Days, which is literature based.
Correct.
Today in a different format.
Yeah.
If you ask me personally, probably I won't do it on television. But in the OTT space,
yes.
Because the OTT approaches their projects like feature films in terms of the writing and the production and the production design, everything. So this a little more hard hitting and more realistic will definitely, of course, what they have done is
a masterpiece.
Is a masterpiece. I mean, but then it's up to us whether you want to sit on a table and watch it and appreciate that as a piece of art, or you want to take the responsibility and give it a different twist. That's up to us.
Exactly.
So if at all it happens, I think OTT is a good space.
So Rohan, I think me and Rohan were talking. We had a tour of the museum. So आपण actually ते bench preserve केलेलं आहेस तू म्हटलं, ते घराचे पण ते walls मध्ये त्याने पण preserve केलेले. So what was that story when, because So Rohan comes from a perspective who has, was involved immensely in the making of the museum. And since he comes from FTI, he's an actor. That was a different transition that happened. So how did that happen, Rohan? How was your journey with this?
To answer your first question, in fact, before that, she said that today is 65th anniversary. Tomorrow, apparently, also happens to be World Museum Day.
Okay.
Yes.
That's 18th May. We celebrated World Museum Day last year. This year, due to some erratic schedules and travel and this, we are unable to. But that's another. We are also kind of giving a tribute to the World Museum Day, rather World Museum Eve today. So we would just like to acknowledge that, and just a coincidence that we are here today.
Yeah.
जो दूसरा प्रश्न जो होता was about the bench that was preserved. So actually what happened in 2018 or 19, when we decided that okay, let's start work on the museum, we decided to go back to his roots, that is Mysore in Karnataka, where he was born and brought up. Till most of his adolescence he spent there. And then we went to Maharaja College, where he did his graduation. And after going there, and we had vaguely heard from relatives and from the family that there was all the 8 people, or rather, I think
6 of them.
Six
Brothers.
6 brothers went to the same college.
Okay.
And it was such a coincidence that after going there, we met the principal, and he told us that coincidentally they sat on the same bench.
Wow.
And with the compass, they have graved their initials on the bench. So we did a kind of a treasure hunt in the college, and finally we found the bench, and we requested them to part it up, because it would have been a great thing to preserve in the museum.
Yes.
But of course, it's their property; they have a certain nostalgic value about it, so they didn't part with it. So that's a very interesting story, probably unheard of. 6 people, 6 brothers, siblings, going with and the age gap between them was quite a bit. They went to the same college and they sat on the same bench. So that's a very interesting story. Part of it, if whenever people come here, people will read a small note about it on the wall.
Yeah.
Coming back to the next question, yeah, I mean, I've been very closely associated with the family, and so we got to know that this museum is happening through the newspaper.
Okay.
आणि मग आम्ही हे पुणे म्युन्सिपल कॉर्पोरेशन PMC पुणे महानगरपालिकेचा हा प्रोजेक्ट आहे, आणि मग आम्ही त्यांना जाऊन भेटलो, आणि मग तिकडे गेल्यावर कळलं की त्यांनी जागा घेतली आणि काम सुरू झाले ऑलरेडी. मग ते ऑफिशियल्सला भेटलो, आणि वी केम हिअर. सो दे आस्क्ड अस की व्हाय डोंट यू गाइज ओनली डू इट. I have a certain film background. I was trained at FTI, so naturally my inclination is towards films,
right,
and storytelling. So I thought, instead of approaching the museum like a regular museum where a few cartoons are hung,
correct,
and make it the most boring place in the world to visit, why not approach it differently?
Correct.
And this was a museum which was not scattered about any subject. This was in fact very focused about one single man.
ओके, अमेझिंग. तर हा सगळा जो जर्नी आहे तुमचा, आणि जर्नी ऑफ मॅम विथ सर. ओके, सो वेन यू गॉट मॅरिड अँड सो यू हॅड एन आयडिया लाईक हाऊ or what personality he is in. So what was it like coming into the family when your father-in-law is a cartoonist? So did you expect some kind of a caricature of yours to be drawn some point of time, or some joke or some healthy banter to happen?
Interestingly, I don't know. I mean, my husband is very good in drawing and sketching.
Okay.
And has the same sense of humor like his father, but never took to it because he went into a different plan, trajectory altogether. Like, he was very fond of aeroplanes, so he's also a journalist, like an aviation correspondent, and graduated to aerospace and all of that. Somehow, so he never taught his son, but he acquired it. Obviously, it comes from the genes. But somehow he always thought that I am an artistic person and tried to make me sketch. I can't draw even a line straight. Okay, so I used to, every time he'd say, okay, I'm going to make you sketch today, and I would just run away. One fine day, he just nailed me down and said, no, you're not leaving this thing, you have to sketch something. And he gave me a huge sheet of paper like this, and in one corner I drew a miserable elephant. Then he said, "Oh, I made the biggest mistake of believing in you. Just get lost from here." So that's the kind of feeling. And yeah, in fact, my family were always wondering, "Oh my God! I mean, I'm the only sister with 4 brothers." And you're going to getting married into a celebrity family. How are you going to manage? Right from day one, pre-marriage, from the day one that I met my husband, my in-laws, I never had that thought at all. Somehow that connect happened instantly. Never ever, because it's always for a girl when you get married and go to this thing, you always have that thought, how is it going to be like?
Right.
I never had that strange feeling at all. And coming into another city from Chennai here, it's absolutely comfortable. And so, I mean, I just walked into their life. That's it.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing. So, but when so many celebrities must be coming, must be meeting.
oh yes. In fact, for 1 year, it was year of celebration for us, the wedding, because after that, so many parties, celebrities coming home, they throwing parties and all of that. So in the beginning, yes, it was a very different feeling for me. Got slowly, got used to it. And never ever felt like, that I'm living in a family with celebrities. Never ever felt that. It was very informal. And even when the different personalities who came home, also we never felt that. I feel it now, but I never felt it then.
Wow.
So
No, that's a really amazing. So, Rohan, we see this beautiful museum. The way every wall speaks about Sir, and the audiovisual, getting the miniature. What were the major challenges that you faced? Because this is not easy. I mean, the number of the what do we say, the cartoons and the prints. What was the number that you put together?
It's a little more than 30,000.
30,000.
31, 32 maybe.
So, and in total, how many must have been there? Like, because you've chosen 30,000. Or
I'm talking about the exhaustive,
the exhaustive
number.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
Wow.
chose for print amongst them, like the important and the landmark ones.
Wow. But so what was the challenge? How?
So in fact, yeah, if I may interrupt.
Yes, absolutely.
There was a beautiful understanding that the two of us had of the creative ideas that he had and the content idea that I had. So I took care of all the contents because it was all there with me.
Right.
And right from separating them, rather categorizing them, and as per each category, writing about it was completely my forte.
Right.
And then he took charge of all the creative of actually, the whole idea of telling the story.
Right.
And how we are going to do the placement and the mapping.
Yes.
That was totally this thing. So as far as challenge is concerned, I wouldn't call that as a challenge because both of us enjoyed it because we come from the creative world. So every moment of it was amazingly and totally enjoyable.
Yeah.
In fact, I used to wake up at 4 in the morning every single day during COVID time and work on it. And then during the day we used to connect and then keep this thing.
Yeah.
But he did face a lot of challenge, much more than me, because he had to be physically present here to manage the whole thing with the different departments. But I must say, before I pass it on to him, that this is an opportunity I'm getting, a platform I'm getting to each and every department that came on board. Thanks to Rohan, he brought them on board. Every one of them, the kind of passion they showed and the respect and love they had for Dad, you could see it in the museum.
Absolutely.
It just came from within. I mean, and they just wanted to do it. And so it was a beautiful team that came together. So every one of us enjoyed it.
Amazing.
But the challenge part, of course,
yes, Rohan.
As of course, we enjoyed it, no doubt. And you always enjoy challenges. One big challenge, or I don't know whether to call it a challenge to begin with, but when we came, when we saw this place, till the time we actually began work, the structure, the skeleton of this entire place was ready.
And I think there was another place chosen previously, right? I think we were talking about that.
Yeah, that
was
was
chosen.
a completely different thing. But in talking about this space, when this space was ready, after that I got into it, and then I saw, okay, that this is what we have, and we have to accommodate the material that we have in different forms, and yet make it interesting. Now, ideally, the designing part and the architectural part should happen together.
Right.
But there was a lot of back and forth, huge gap in between these two. So, firstly, the challenge was deciding to like coming down and zeroing something that each and every corner, what are we going to have, and in what sequence.
Correct.
Even the film that we did was even bigger challenge because we were dealing. She said the material that we had, the count was when we were making the film, the count was still not done. She was somewhere. She was digitizing all that time, all those cartoons, and I think the number that we have had at that point of time, somewhere around 2020, was around like 12,000.
Wow.
And there was a limitation for the duration. It can't be like a 1 hour show because today the attention span is very limited.
Yeah.
But yet you can't say it in 2 minutes also, like a reel.
Correct.
You need that space. What needs time, needs time. You can't do anything about it. So making the film was another challenge because to create a narrative and make it interesting, instead of making it like a mundane, regular, boring film, the script, there were too many ideas that were bounced, and we had completely different idea for the film, but that didn't happen. And then writing the script, creating a narrative just through some images and pictures, it's very difficult. And then deciding to do whether in this image do we really need animation, or we are like forcing it, or do we really need it here?
Correct.
If it's this movement is going to take the story forward, okay, then let's do it.
Right.
So likewise, you have to do it on all the images that you have.
Right.
That was a big challenge. And like overall, though these are I'm still things in like small parts about the overall film museum and its experience. Creating the concept, it took time because it kept evolving.
Absolutely.
Like you must have seen the note on which it ends.
Yeah.
The common woman note. So
yes.
that was towards the end of the scripting and end of the voiceover that I wrote. That came very later because we planned to have the common woman outside somewhere.
Achha.
So we thought that it suddenly had this idea, and then we thought we'll include it in as a part of the narrative, and let's end on that note.
Right.
So in that sense, display of material and using the space. Another big challenge was the Pune Municipal Corporation. Although they were extremely supportive, they didn't have a system to, they have a certain procedure, like there's a tender and this and that. So they didn't have a mechanism to pass a tender like this. That's when actually my alma mater came to my rescue. They approached FTI, and FTI kind of helped them with it, how to do it, because they have a certain system in place.
Right.
So we took the project to them, and then that happened. So that was a procedure of about a year.
Okay. Wow. So, but when we look at the museum, okay, so when we always think about a museum, we feel that it must be a old building and with with huge rooms and this and that. But the first time when we walked in, we're like, my God, this is such a new modern complex with such beautifully designed, the architecture of it, the way the people are entering, the kind of the walkthrough it is. Then there's the political room, then there's the audiovisual. Exactly. The ramps. So it's easier for everyone to walk in. So what was that? How was that the planning of the how did that planning come?
See, all that architectural things
That
were
was
the
already-
architects
Okay.
plan.
Okay.
The Herschel Pawar and Unitecture, that was a firm, and the architecture was the Herschel Pawar.
Okay.
So once the building was done, then we came into the picture.
Okay.
So then, with whatever existing thing that was offered to us, we did the entire mapping.
Okay. So coming to the next question, then, how was your experience in preserving and digitizing the work of RK Laxman, sir?
That's
So-
absolutely thanks to my mom-in-law. She kept a complete scrapbook right from day one of his work.
Wow.
And in fact, Dad used to tease her, and we all used to tease. I mean, why do you need to have all this? You say, I am here, no, I'm sketching, why do you have to have it? But she had that passion of, there's not a single day she has left of, and it was not just Times of India, he did huge amount of work outside of Times as well. So in various magazines and institutions, I mean, there's not a single industrialist or institutions or corporate sectors that have not approached him and he has not done work. All of that she had kept. So then that's how I was able to digitize all of them.
Amazing. So what inspired you to initiate the art education programs for children based on RK Laxman's work? Because that is something that's going on right now. Huh?
So when I was collating all this work, and my background is teaching. I was a teacher, Montessori teacher for almost 16 years. And then I started an NGO along with my friend. Again, it was related to education. I was with Teach India, with Times of India and the Times Foundation. And then I worked for another NGO called Kangle. Everywhere it was education. And here, this was like a fodder.
Yeah.
And why shouldn't I do this for children? And so when I was collating all of this, this thought was there in the back of my mind. I have to give it back to the society. And nothing better than the youngsters. They are the right people, the formative years where you need to introduce. And looking at the story of Dad, everything was art for him, and that art made him completely, not just as an artist. He was a man, well-read man, and he was a great writer. He was a philosopher. There's not a single subject that he did not know, because without knowing the subject, you cannot bring it out in the form of art. So if you can use his art and educate the students and impart this knowledge to them, tomorrow who knows, there could be another Laxman and several Laxmans springing up. And we did have a beautiful experience last year. We conducted a 1-year art education program with the Pune Municipal Corporation students. Unbelievable response we got.
Wow.
And the satisfaction that we got through that is because of this museum and because of all his work. And we would like to continue that every year.
Can you describe the experience, like what the children go through?
So all that we did with the students is, and these were 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade students, and who do not even know who Laxman is. So when they came here, it was right from introducing the artist and then the art.
Correct.
So we took them on a journey of this museum, and then we had interactive sessions with them. It was amazing the kind of curiosity they showed, even in the political room, about the common man, and they were very curious about Laxman's family, and 100 questions they started asking. And when we said, would you like to learn his art? Are you interested? They said, can we start today itself?
Wow.
That was the excitement they showed.
Amazing.
And believe me, with each group, we did only a 5-day session. And then finally, the culmination of it, we had a beautiful event downstairs. And there were students who gave live sketching, and they sketched Common Man, they sketched some of his work, which they had seen at least a couple of months prior when they visited the museum.
More than that.
And look at the impression that has gone into their heads, and they were able to replicate that and sketch it.
Wow.
In front of audience, chief guests, they were able to do it.
Amazing.
So that's the outcome we saw. That's the impact we got out of the students.
Super.
That's what gave us the confidence. We should never leave this. Every year we have to have this and take it across.
So how can people be part of this initiative, since a lot of viewers are watching this? So how can one, get connected with you for the program?
Currently, we are doing it for government schools.
Okay.
And we are approaching corporates to fund us so that we'll be able to serve as many beneficiaries as possible. And, that's exactly what our focus is currently.
Also, during the vacation time, people who want to walk in and people want to come here and we'll fix up a certain age group. We want to have workshop in theatre as well as in the art education program and cartooning, because there must be a lot of painting classes and sketching classes. Because cartooning classes, to my knowledge, does not exist, at least in Pune city.
Right.
So that is a very unique thing that we want to do. We were planning it sometime during this summer vacations, but it didn't happen. So maybe during the Diwali vacations, we'll plan. So people who are watching this and who have children in their home at the place who are interested in sketching, just to introduce them about the world of cartooning and what cartooning is all about. We are planning to start some workshops in the near future.
I think you should talk about the theatre workshop also.
So yeah, we have also we did a theatre workshop under RK Laxman Foundation in the Magarpatta City Public School. We did it for 6 months, and 3 of my friends were also a part of it.
Interesting.
And the workshop ended in 2 plays. It was a year end. It was a workshop and productions, 2 productions that we did. We did it in Magarpatta amphitheater only. Anjan Srivastav and Bharat Dabolkar were the guests for it, chief guests, and it went on very well. The transformation that we saw in ourselves as well as in them was magical.
Wow.
Magic is the word, and there's no other word.
So to begin with, we just gave them a visual impact, bringing them to the museum, looking at the sketches, the characters, the postures, the expressions, and the storytelling, so that they got a kind of an idea. And then the workshop, of course, was conducted by Rohan and his team.
So likewise, we will plan something here as well.
Yes.
In the museum, but not now. I mean, probably vacations work better. So maybe in Diwali vacation or during Christmas time, we'll definitely plan something. Our website, I think a few details you can post under the footer note or something. So yeah.
So since this museum is all about storytelling and the experience of RK Laxman sir's life, and the drawings, everything. So when you meet people who come out of the museum, what are their experiences like, and what do you feel?
They were, every single person has loved it. And I don't think there's been anybody who has, had to say anything less than saying that it's such a wonderful museum, wonderful thing to come again and again, and there's lots and lots to see. Every one of them loved it.
See, they come here with a different expectation.
Yes, exactly.
They feel कि अच्छा कुछ cartoon रखे होंगे, and हम लोग will just see what we anyways already seen, probably in different size. But when they come here, it's a different. In fact, I would like to ask you. You visited it some time back.
Yes.
What was your expectation? And there's a before and after. I forget.
See, we came. We had no expectations at all. We were like, okay, museum hai, so maybe there'll be. I had absolutely no idea. And when I came, I thought it was in Hinjewadi or something. It showed me the pinpoint map point. It was here, just behind Balewadi High Street. And we were like, oh my god, this. And me and Rucha, we used to walk here when we used to stay in Baner. We never saw this museum. Okay, that is our observation minus. I'll give points to herself.
She told me that she thought it's education.
Yes, yeah, she had seen it. She thought education school or college. So that was the first point when it came in. Building was so beautiful. The lights done so nicely. The way the entry point was, and the journey started. And I had no words by the time, because the last segment that we visited was the Malgudi Days, the miniature that was built. And oh my god, that was like the thing that, like, after that I became speechless. He asked me, I had no words after coming out because I was still, absorbing what I had seen, what I had experienced in that 30 to 45 minutes or 1 hour, I think, of our visit. So coming to that, it was just after 2-3 days or so, I'm telling my parents, I'm telling my friends, yeah, this is such a beautiful museum. They were like, अरे किधर है museum? पुण्यात आहे museum. म्हटलं अरे पुण्यात काय बाणेरमध्ये म्युझियम आहे ते. Why are you acting so amazed?
लोकांना ऍक्च्युअली माहिती नाहीये. काय झालं की हे म्युझियम प्राईम मिनिस्टरनी इनॉग्रेट केले, मोदीजींनी इनॉग्रेट केले. सो काय झालं की 2000 काही वर्षांपूर्वी त्यांनी एक मेल पाठवली होती. And he called us over, and we met him in Delhi, and we spoke about the possibility of a museum coming up somewhere in this vicinity. That time things were not locked, and then of course we met him, and then we told him that if something like that happened, we would like to come and inaugurate. Then the museum happened, and then he came. He inaugurated it virtually because that was COVID time going on, just like third wave 2022.
Yes,
6th March. He was in MIT College, inaugurating all metro and a lot of other things. So, and then he said he met him there, and he said, I'll definitely come. So he very well knows about it. He might come soon. So when that inauguration happened, of course, media here and there had covered it. So because of which people got to know. So, and after that, it was all word of mouth. So,
And interestingly, the variety of people and their reaction. So his contemporary people would come
Correct.
and say, we have followed all his work, and it's so nice to, go back to that down the memory lane.
Yeah.
And there used to be cartoonists coming who were able to recall each and every cartoon and then relate it to what they have done. And youngsters, of course, for them, it's an absolutely new experience. The artists who would come in, aspiring artists, it was a lot of takeaway for them. So it's like different experience.
Different experience for
people.
everyone.
Yeah.
kids get excited about the train.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even the elders.
Even
Because
I
it's
got excited
unexpected.
about the train.
Because it's unexpected.
The train is coming. And one thing I felt after watching the museum, I felt like every wall should have a chair or something, because it's not possible for you to come, because you want to sit, you want to see. So maybe that we can do in future. but I think yeah. So just because you should get to see them, feel them, because there's a story in a story. It's so minute and so detailed. As both of y'all have been associated with RK Laxman sir's legacy, what is that one piece of advice or wisdom that from his works, being involved in all this process, that has stayed with you and throughout your life? What is that one thing that you all take away
From his work or from him?
from him and his work?
From him, what I have observed is his dedication in whatever he does, his time management, and his focus. And he would never give up anything. Even in his voracious reader, as I told you, he would take up a book and would not know how interesting the book is. However boring the book is, he would finish it. So I think there shouldn't come a point where you should say, "Oh God, I don't want to do it."
Correct.
You have to have that involvement. You have to have that dedication, because there is light in the other side of the tunnel, definitely. So that is something I learned from him.
Amazing.
Time management, hard working, and take up something and see that it's completed, and never get disheartened on anything. Challenges will always come your way,
True.
but you need to face it as long as you're very honest and dedicated about what you're doing. And this is something I would like people to know about,
Amazing.
as far as he's concerned, as a man and as an artist.
Superb. Rohan?
See, what I've learned, like with the 2-3 years of my involvement in the work is, and to knowing the man, is two things. One, I think the art of cartooning is a very difficult thing.
Absolutely.
To be able to do it for 60 years is a work of a genius.
Yeah.
And to do anything for 60-70 years is something you need to love it. Nobody does this as a profession beyond a point of a money, of a name, or fame. You do it because you have to do it.
True.
So which means consistency. So consistency is something which, as an actor, as an artist, is something that I have learned. Because he had a deadline of 4 p.m. every day. Probably what happens is, because of that, even if the idea or some thoughts are not coming to you naturally, you start forcing your thoughts.
Correct.
Because of the deadline. In that, you create something which you never thought.
True.
So that's the reason consistency and that everyday work. I think this is what my takeaway from it.
Amazing. So I think we've had an amazing podcast today on the topic of RK Laxman sir, the museum, and how the whole process has come into place. So thank you so much for allowing us to shoot it here.
In fact, we should
Thank
thank
you.
you, and I genuinely mean it.
Yeah, thank
Like
you
an
so much.
accidental meeting somewhere, at some random place, and you came down. You spent a couple of hours. You explored the entire museum and then stuck to your word of coming here and shooting it. We really grateful to you. It's just my small request.
Yes.
If you can just tell our viewers about
Absolutely.
the whereabouts of the museum.
Yes.
And it's the days when it's open and the days when it's closed.
Why don't
in
you
your-
please look into the camera, roll, and
Okay, so the RK Laxman Museum, which is situated right behind Balewadi High Street, you can find it on Google Maps. We are open from 10 to 5 every day. When I mean 5 is the time when we close the entry. So you can walk in at 5 and explore, and you can leave whenever you want. This is behind Balewadi High Street, and our point of contact is also given on the website. I think website probably.
It's on the Google too. It's on the Google
Yeah,
Maps.
it's,
Yes.
yeah, you type RK Laxman Museum, it pops up in Google, and we have rklaxmanmuseum.com, which gives you a complete story about the museum. And this is, I wouldn't call it a museum, I would call it a story of Laxman. And please do come and watch it. I'm sure you'll not, you'll be happy to have not missed it, and you'll enjoy it.
There are
Set
two.
aside at least an hour and a half or two so that you could have enough time to go around. I mean, I would say, coming from the family, that please make it a must visit. And I want this word to spread not only amongst his contemporary, Lakshman's contemporary, but the youngsters, because I think they need to know about an artist and what he has left down, which has already gone down in history, and it needs to continue. So please do come.
There are two light and sound shows, as we have been discussing. I request all of you to watch that, because that's where the soul of the museum lies. We start the show with a minimum group of 5. So make sure you come in decent groups so that you can watch the show also. Thank you.
And please get your children, get your parents, get your neighbors, get your whole society here, because this experience is truly magical, and it will definitely teach you something. It will make you relatable to the content that was already done. Because that day we were discussing that cartoon about tomatoes. So there was this price rise tomatoes, and during 70s or 80s, he has done a cartoon. That was still relevant a year back when the tomato prices went up.
Absolutely.
So many cartoons that you can connect with.
Yes.
So please do come, and we will request you to have this magical experience and share it with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayuresh.
Thank you
Thanks
so
to
much.
you
It
and
was
your
a
team.
beautiful evening
Yes,
with
same
all
here.
of you.
Same
Thank
here.
you very much.
Thank you
Really
so
enjoyed
much.
it.